Gumball Season 7 is now just weeks away, and for a while, it seemed like the excitement was starting to fade. The anticipation that once electrified the fan base was flickering. But keep watching. There's a theory at the end that might change how you see the entire leak. But then it happened. A leak, an unfiltered glimpse into the chaos behind the curtain. What appeared to be an unfinished animation clip hit the internet like a thunderclap. And with it came a sudden wave of speculation, disbelief, and raw, renewed hype. It wasn't just the leak itself that reignited the flame. It was the timing. Paired with the recent trailer drop, the entire Gumball fandom has been thrown into a storm of questions. Was this leak a deliberate move to stir curiosity, or is something unraveling within the production? Either way, the calm is over, the madness has begun, and I am absolutely here for every second of it. Let's talk about this snippet, because it's not just odd or experimental. No, it's a surrealistic fever dream that punches right through the fourth wall and drags us into a dimension of pure animated dissonance. It doesn't just feel messy, it feels wrong, like a corrupted file trying to render reality, but glitching with every frame. It's as if someone took the DNA of the show, scrambled it, and hit play, just to see what horrors would unfold. The rhythm is jarring, disorienting, and intentionally chaotic, as though the universe of Elmore itself is breaking down in real time. The images come at you like waves during a storm, erratic, unpredictable, and relentless. There's no time to settle, no time to breathe. Just when you think you've made sense of one frame, the next one blindsides you, undoing any understanding you thought you had. There's a deliberate discomfort woven into it, as if the animation is daring you to look closer, to peel back the surface, and see the rot beneath. We're not just witnessing a new animation style, we're being forcibly pulled into a collapsing, corrupted version of Gumball's universe, where the rules are broken, and logic has become a distant memory. And the more you look, the more you realize, this is not a mistake, it's an invitation, one laced with madness. And that collapse is most evident in the animation itself, a brutal, almost violent departure from the finely tuned hybrid multimedia magic that has defined the series for years. Gone are the polished surfaces and harmonious design choices. Gone is the visual clarity that once anchored even the most absurd storylines. In their place stands a jarring, unstable visual language that feels like a cry for help. Characters don't just move, they convulse, twist, and distort mid-motion, as if their very existence is being rewritten on the fly. Faces melt with no warning, proportions shatter mid-sentence, and transitions jerk violently from one scene to the next, feeling less like artistic direction and more like digital seizures. It's as if the laws that used to govern Elmore, the physics, the logic, the style guides, have all been deleted, leaving its citizens adrift in an unpredictable void. There is no longer a framework holding the madness in place. The show has always flirted with absurdity, with the surreal, but now it feels like we've crossed a threshold. This isn't playful nonsense anymore. This is full-blown narrative collapse, an implosion of style, structure, and sanity. Every second of footage seems to scream, nothing is safe anymore. Now, whether this was a glimpse into the void or just a storyboard test that was never meant to be seen, one thing is clear, it's not random. It's too calculated in its chaos, too pointed in its discomfort. It's uncomfortable, yes, but it serves a purpose, even if that purpose hasn't been fully revealed. Take a second to compare it with some of Gumball's more intense moments in past seasons, the gasoline truck chaos from the copycats, or the meticulously choreographed fight scenes that turned mundane moments into kinetic spectacle. Those episodes were hectic, but they operated under a set of unspoken rules. They were precise, controlled. What we have now is different. This is not chaos refined. It's chaos unleashed. It feels as though the creative team has let the monster out of the cage and is now filming the wreckage. The scenes aren't just strange. They're symbolic. They're unraveling something deeper, peeling back the comfort of animation to show the raw, pulsing nerves underneath. It's wildness, not for shock value, but as a message, a signal, maybe even a warning that the Gumball universe is no longer what we thought it was, and maybe never was. The visuals themselves are even more unsettling, grotesque to the point of fascination. Imagine a dragon. Yes, a fully animated, glimmering dragon, kick-flipping over a police cruiser, which is inexplicably driven by a mutated, frothing donut cop. That sentence alone feels like a fever dream, but in this clip, it's real. The dragon's wings shimmer with pixelated patterns, bending in and out of focus, as if reality can't stabilize its form. The cop's eyes bulge with static, mouth twitching in corrupted loops, as if its voice has been replaced with screeching modem sounds. And in the back seat, Gumball and Darwin, but not the versions we know. Their features sag unnaturally, like wax figures left too long under hot lights. Their eyes flicker with different frame rates, as if they belong to different dimensions entirely. And just when your brain starts to adjust to the chaos, it escalates again. A man, appearing homeless but ethereal, like a forgotten extra in a dream, skateboards across a street that doesn't exist. His movements are janky and non-Euclidean. Then, suddenly, he's blocked by a goblin-like police officer with reptilian limbs and static pouring from its badge. Just as your mind begins to collapse from the absurdity, the dragon, mid-kickflip, is skinned alive in one fluid motion. No warning, no setup, just raw animated surrealism with a surgical strike of body horror. Then everything spirals out of control, and not in a cartoony, slapstick way. This is spiraling with gravity, like an emotional and narrative black hole. Gumball and Darwin, those bright, familiar characters we've laughed with for years, begin to fuse. Not metaphorically, literally. Their limbs twist around each other like fleshy strands of DNA unraveling. Their faces glitch into overlapping layers, mouths trying to speak different words at once, creating garbled audio that sounds like corrupted memories. It's not played for laughs. It's disturbing, deliberate, and strangely poetic. The fusion is not smooth or majestic like a cartoon power-up. It's clumsy, grotesque, horrifying in its execution. You feel like you're watching something that shouldn't be happening, as if the laws of narrative have broken down and the characters are being punished for it. And still, it doesn't stop. The Dragon Rider, now looking deranged and skeletal, dangles from the undercarriage of the police car, eyes rolling back as he screams in binary code. He punctures the tire with what appears to be a human tooth. The car spins, unhinged, careening through an increasingly broken cityscape. Buildings morph into VHS static, lampposts stretch like chewing gum, and the vehicle crashes headlong into a wall that bleeds upon impact. Every element, cop, dragon, mutants, collides in a final moment of visually orchestrated catastrophe. It's choreographed insanity, a ballet of collapse. And here's the thing, the entire sequence lacks the visual finesse we associate with Gumball. There's no glossy polish, no witty juxtaposition of live action and hand-drawn elements, no sense of comedic timing. Instead, we get jagged editing, screechy sound design, and animation that feels like it was scribbled on napkins during a panic attack. The aesthetic is raw, even offensive to the eye, but not because it's poorly made. Quite the opposite. It feels like it's trying to offend the viewer's sense of comfort. Is it an early pass? A rough cut with missing assets? Sure, that's the rational take. But what if it's not? What if this is exactly how it's meant to be? What if we're witnessing a transformation, not of the show, but of its reality? This could be a glimpse into a corrupted Elmore, a world that's been infected by something deeper and more existential. The animation no longer serves as entertainment. It's become a symptom of a world that's falling apart from the inside out. This isn't about visual appeal anymore. It's about making you feel like you've stumbled into a system error, an unstable cartoon ecosystem that's begun to glitch in a way that mirrors the chaos of our own fractured realities. Every frame feels like it's trying to whisper a secret, but your brain can't quite hold on to it long enough to understand. Because if the goal was to get people talking, then mission accomplished on an unprecedented level. Fans aren't just chatting, they're obsessing. Social media platforms are bursting at the seams with freeze frames, zoomed-in screenshots, and threads, hundreds of comments deep, trying to interpret every twisted detail. People are analyzing sound bites, speculating on animation software glitches, and even running spectral analysis on distorted audio. And yet, for all this effort, nothing lines up, nothing fits. The once familiar faces have mutated beyond recognition, sometimes subtly, like an uncanny expression that lingers too long, other times grotesquely, with limbs stretching or twitching as if possessed. The city of Elmore, once vibrant and teeming with quirky charm, now feels like a haunted version of itself, a dream collapsing at the edges, buildings distorting like corrupted data, colors clashing in discordant palettes. And here's the part that gnaws at me. I can't shake the feeling that these characters, the dragon, the distorted cop, the glitching Gumball and Darwin, aren't random at all. They feel like archetypes, like symbolic constructs masquerading as cartoon chaos, echoes of something deeper, something sentient. What if these aren't just jokes? What if they're entities trying to communicate something from inside the show? The void has always been there, sure, but now it's no longer contained. It's bleeding outward, infecting the very fabric of Gumball's universe, and we're watching the infection spread frame by frame. That brings us to a much bigger, far more unnerving question. What does any of this actually mean? Is this just elaborate trolling by the creators? Or are we looking at something far more deliberate? A message baked into the madness? Could these nightmarish sequences be hallucinations? Psychological breakdowns? Is Gumball losing his mind in real time? Or maybe Darwin never existed in the first place, and this is the story fracturing under that truth. Maybe we're watching a simulation slowly fall apart, glitching beyond repair, and the characters are becoming aware of it, screaming, fusing, melting, not out of randomness, but out of narrative trauma. And here's the theory that really haunts me. What if the animation style itself is the clue? The grotesque, unstable lines, the lack of polish, the absence of logic. What if that's not poor production, but intentional design? A cosmic warning written in visual language? Like the show is breaking its own format to scream, this is no longer fiction. It's impossible to say for sure without more context. But one thing is certain, something is wrong, deeply wrong. And that wrongness feels too specific to be accidental. The showrunners aren't just making another season. They're crafting a warning, a statement, a dissent. They're telling us that the center cannot hold, that the story structure is unraveling, and we're meant to witness the disintegration from the inside. But there's more, much more. Just when the fandom thought it couldn't go deeper, a new layer emerged. Online leaks of the episode list. 26 titles for the upcoming season surfaced on Twitter, and they're not what you'd expect. Some are bizarre, others hilarious, and a few feel like encrypted riddles waiting to be decoded. Take the butts. On the surface, it sounds ridiculous, classic Gumball absurdity. But knowing what we now know, could it be a metaphor for something grotesque hiding beneath comedic layers? The astrological evokes cosmic horror more than quirky horoscope antics. But the two that truly snapped everything into focus for me were the speedrun and the summoning. The speedrun immediately connects to the chaotic pacing of the leaked footage. The idea that time itself is collapsing, fast-forwarding, skipping scenes like a broken DVD. But the summoning? That's the one that chills me. Suddenly, all the new monstrous designs, the occult energy, the unholy fusion of characters, none of it feels random anymore. It starts to look like part of a larger ritual, as if someone, or something, is calling out from the edges of the show, using these characters as conduits. If the void is bleeding out, maybe this season is the attempt to summon whatever's inside it. And that's not just a plot twist. That's a cosmic shift in what this show dares to be. And then there's the very first episode of the season, the burger. At first glance, it sounds harmless, goofy even. A classic Gumball premise about food and quirky mishaps. But don't be fooled. This episode carries a twisted undertone that sets the tone for the rest of the season. The plot? Gumball and Darwin decide to eat healthy. Innocent enough, right? Until they realize that every grocery store, every snack shack, every single source of nourishment in Elmore is owned and controlled by one shadowy figure, Mr. Bilderberger. If that name rings a bell, it's not by accident. The writers are clearly planting a reference to real-world secretive power structures, groups that operate behind the curtain, pulling the strings. So now, what begins as a satire on health food morphs into a dystopian tale of monopolies, manipulation, and control. It becomes less about burgers and more about systemic domination. Even the way the episode is drawn feels different. There's something darker in the shading, something sharper in the sound design. Laughter still exists, but it's nervous, uneasy. Because underneath the jokes is a sinister truth. Elmore's free will might be compromised. And that's when you realize that the humor isn't there to soften the blow. It's there to deliver it. The burger might be the most direct metaphor we've seen yet for how power infects even the most innocent corners of a society. It's not just funny, it's disturbing, and that's exactly the point. At the recent Anarchy Film Festival, we got more than just fan speculation. We got a glimpse into what's coming next. The creators confirmed that the long-anticipated Gumball movie is still in production. That might seem like a small announcement, but trust me, it's massive. It changes the stakes entirely, because it means this isn't just a bizarre experimental season or a creative one-off. This season is canon. It's important. It's part of a much larger story arc. In fact, Season 7 now feels like a bridge, a necessary transitional moment in the Gumball mythos that connects the series we knew to something much bigger. And here's what makes that significant. Bridges are unstable. They're designed to be crossed, not lived on. Which means this season is the chaos before the clarity. It's the storm before the structure. It may finally answer questions that fans have whispered about for years. Questions like, what exactly is the void? Why do the laws of reality bend so easily in Elmore? Why is Gumball the only one who seems to notice when things glitch? What happens when a cartoon begins to notice itself? Season 7 doesn't promise answers in the traditional sense, but it promises disruption. It promises transformation. And with the movie on the horizon, every clue, every corrupted frame, every fusion of characters might be part of a puzzle that ends with the movie pulling back the final curtain. If the show's going meta, then the film might be the show stepping through the screen altogether. In the end, the amazing world of Gumball. Season 7 doesn't just look like a new season, it looks like a complete genre shift, a metamorphosis. What began as a clever, colorful, self-aware cartoon has now evolved into something bold, eerie, and thematically explosive. It's still hilarious, still strange, but now it's infused with a kind of existential awareness. The show seems to know what it is and what it was, and now it's actively tearing that apart. The leaks, the disturbing visuals, the unsettling tone, and the thematic undertones aren't just for shock value. They're calculated. They're breadcrumbs leading somewhere. And maybe, just maybe, they're leading us into a deeper understanding of the show's entire universe. No longer are we just watching a cartoon. We're watching a system malfunction in real time. Gumball isn't just glitching, he's evolving, or decaying, or both. Whether the speedrun fractures the very concept of time, or the summoning brings cosmic horror both within its fictional universe and within the expectations of its audience. It wants us to feel off balance. It wants us to question everything we know about animated storytelling, and that's exactly why it matters. So until the premiere finally drops, all we can do is wait and speculate. But let's be honest, if this was just a taste of what's to come, then the full season is going to be something truly unprecedented. Not just wild, but revolutionary. We're on the edge of something huge, and the tension in the community is electric. Fans are drawing connections, building theories, arguing over frame rates, analyzing visual metaphors like it's a college thesis, and none of it feels like overkill. It feels necessary, because Gumball Season 7 might be the first time a cartoon has fully embraced collapse as a storytelling method. The way it weaponizes distortion, how it mixes humor with existential dread, how it turns absurdity into an emotional tone. It's not just groundbreaking, it's transformative. And when the show finally airs, it could change how we view animation forever. So buckle up, grab your theory boards, your highlighters, your wildest Reddit threads. Because if even half of what we've seen so far is any indication, this isn't just the next chapter in Gumball's story. This is the turning point. The breakdown before the breakthrough. Don't forget to subscribe for more twisted Gumball theories. The glitch before the truth. And we're going to watch it unfold together.